Welcome back. Now, the financial sustainability of municipalities has come under the spotlight at the South African Local Government Association's National Conference that is currently underway in Cape Town. High debt levels, low revenue generation and inadequate equitable share for municipalities are some of the challenges facing local authorities. Well, Sakina Kamwendo is at the conference for us. Let's cross to her live. SK, good morning to you. Tell us what's going on in Cape Town.
Well, good morning, Levu, and it's good morning from a glorious mother city this morning, and it's been a hectic week for the delegates here at the Salga Conference. It is, of course, the quadricentennial conference for the South African Local Government Association, and much to be discussed, and it has been discussed, and there have been some really interesting deliberations. Started off on Wednesday with an opening address by the Minister of COGTA, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, and the conference was also addressed in a keynote speech by President Cyril Ramaphosa, who among others remarked about the fact that only 5% of municipalities in the country are actually financially viable at this stage, and that's out of 256 municipalities countrywide. So 9,300 councillors, those are the people who've been elected by South Africa on November the 1st to represent them at local government level. And of those, 70% are actually new councillors. And if you'll remember, when we spoke on Wednesday at the opening, we were speaking to officials of Salga who told us that it takes at least 2 years for these new councillors to go through the process and induction and to really be up to speed to continue with the work in any meaningful way in terms of grasping what needs to be done and everything that local government encompasses and expects of them. But there have been great deliberations also around some of the issues that affect councillors at local government level, talking about things such as innovation and where the future lies in that regard. We've also heard about some of the bread and butter issues for councillors regarding their safety, regarding financial issues that affect them and what would accrue to them basically, but also just talking about, among other things, the professionalization of the sector. But many discussions have been had, and very fruitfully so. So joined right now by the COO of Salga, Lance Joel, and Dr. Harlan Kluter, who've been here for all these deliberations over the past 2 weeks, and today, of course, is the final day. I'm going to start with Dr. Harlan Kluter from the University of the Free State. You've been here, you've engaged in some of the panels, listened to a lot of the discussions. What has been your take?
Good morning, Sakina, and good morning to the viewers. And I think it was a wonderful occasion. I think delegates are ready and they're eager and excited. You rightly said 70% of them are new. And so the new councillors are enthusiastic. They really want to make a difference. I think there's a real sense of, this time we need to get this thing right. And so I'm very optimistic with the future of local government. Today they will have the elections of the new Salga leadership, and hopefully they will take the municipalities forward.
Lance Joel, as the COO of Salga, with this new cohort of councillors, which is quite big, so 7 out of every 10 councillors will be new. What does that mean for your work as Salga?
Well, good morning, Sakina, and also good morning to the viewers. It is indeed a daunting task. It is not a new task as we go through this cycle every 5 years following an election. We remain positive. We should remain positive. As I've said earlier, is that the one thing that remains static over the last 25 years is that the mandate of local government has not changed. There is a common understanding of what needs to be done. Ours is to ensure that we facilitate that those things get done. Indeed, it will take a lot of capacity building. It will take a lot of training. But also it will take a lot of guidance to our municipalities and those that lead those municipalities. And perhaps the encouraging factor that came out of the conversations over the last 3 days is that whilst the necessary legislative frameworks are in place, we must ensure that we have the warm bodies to give effect to that legislation. And key amongst it is appointing the right people into the right positions, appropriately skilled, qualified and experienced people to give effect to the plans over the next 5 years. So we're looking forward to that.
Dr. Holland Kluter, and we had quite an extensive discussion about this yesterday. So let's get into your views on this particular matter, because as the COO says, there is, of course, a need, especially for the officials to be appropriately qualified, skilled, all of those necessary qualities. But then, of course, there are constitutional imperatives when it comes to the elected representatives that, may pose a few challenges depending on how you look at it.
Indeed it does. The Auditor General year after year says our problem in South Africa is ethical and accountable leadership. And the question that we asked yesterday in the deliberations was, is ethics or accountability caught or taught? And I think it's a combination of both. Is that we want South Africans want ethical and accountable leaders. South Africans hate corruption, and so they want their elected representatives or appointed representatives to be professional. And a professional means being on time at work, completing your reports, making sure that you act with integrity, making sure that you are on time, that you don't steal, that you are ethical, and that you don't take money that is meant for the poor by taking it or lining your own pockets. And so there's consensus among South Africans. We don't want corruption. We want ethical and accountable leadership in local government.
And of course, what is Salga's role in all of that? Because as Dr. Kluter says, there is consensus among all South Africans in that regard, but these things seem to continue unabated, which is why we only have about 5% of our municipalities financially viable at this stage. It's not the only reason, but that has a big part to play.
Well, at the bottom of this, Sakina, is driving the agenda of extracting accountability, and it be followed by consequence management. It's an area that we have not done much on over the last 15 years, but it's an area that needs our attention. And so I'm sure the newly elected leadership that will emerge out of today's conference will take that forward, because it is an initiative that was started with the outgoing NEC, and we're certainly looking forward to seeing action where there is wrongdoing, that we see people being held accountable, and that we see consequences for the wrongdoing, because in the absence thereof it will be sustained, and that being sustained will inordinately affect negatively on the image of local government. So much needs to be done around that particular area so that we indeed improve what the image is around local government.
So that is where we'll leave it for now here in Cape Town from the South African Local Government Association's Conference 2022. And of course, the theme this year, consolidating the role of local government in rebuilding local communities to meet their social, economic and material needs. And this is what it's about, the bread and butter issues at local government level for you and I and all South Africans who depend on these services. We're going to hand it back to studio for headline news with Lebu for now, but we'll be back here in Cape Town from the Salga Conference 2022 shortly.